Okay, I have just completed the second book in my Motorcycle Girl trilogy. So it's complete and it should be up on Amazon in about 1 week for purchase. And so this has been a real blast, writing this thing. Absolutely fantastic. And so what I've done here is I've taken the journals of my dead girlfriend, Mary Church, and I've transformed her into a literary character, a motorcycle girl. The real Mary Church couldn't even drive a car. So it's fictionalized in that sense, but the personality is exactly the same. And I've interwoven quotes from her journals. So it's kind of a duet. It's quotes from her journals and then me imitating her, but I can do her personality precisely. It's just that my vocabulary is a little more elaborate, so you could tell it's different in that sense. For instance, over here, this paragraph is entirely mine, and you can tell, I'll read it. I pull the bike over and take off. She's just arrived in Phoenix, which is hell. This is called Motorcycle Girl Descends into Hell. And she's just arrived in Phoenix at the end of part 1, just in time for a haboob, which is a massive dust storm. This is the haboob that she arrives, and I'll read this. I pull the bike over and take off my helmet, and then reach into my backpack for a bandana, which I take out and begin to tie over my face, but the wind rips it out of my hands, taking an offering to the sand god man who stalks this desert. See, this is the last of the 7 things that she's imitating Inanna's descent through the 7 gates down into hell to meet her sister, Ereshkigal, the mistress of the underworld. And so the last thing, the 7th thing, is the bandana, which the wind rips from her hands. So that's the 7th thing. The rest of them have all been rocks from her rock collection, turquoise and fool's gold and so forth. So, rips it out of my hands, taking an offering to the sand god man who stalks this desert, stripping layers of topsoil off the lands of its farmers, who can no longer farm there and have to pack up and move away in a procession of blue Ford trucks and broken tractors that no one will ever use again as the sand hunts them across the brown desert, worse than a plague of locusts. The sand will find them. It finds everyone eventually, everywhere it goes, drifting into the cracks of dried up, flaking paint on the dying barns and farmhouses, where old dreams slither away to curl up in dusty corners with black widow spiders, onyx jewels with the red mark of Cain hanging in corners, waiting to mummify emerald flies and drain the life out of them as they curl up there and die where no one will ever miss them again, those dreams. All right, you can tell that's me because the vocabulary is obviously more elaborate. But in this next scene, at the beginning of part 2, it's entirely her. I've only changed one word, I think, that I've taken from the journals here. And I think this is one of the best things she ever wrote. It's in the middle of her journals. One of the best passages she ever wrote. So what I've done is to transform it. It doesn't look like this in the journals, but these are direct quotes. So what I've done is just had fun with them and make it literary, a work of literature, instead of just a private solipsistic journal. So part 2 is called 7 Mountains, and it's a tour through the 7 most prominent mountains in and around Phoenix, Arizona, where the entirety of this book is set. Each mountain is a person. The water courses are their veins and arteries. The water in them is their life, as our blood is to our bodies. Navajo saying. And now this is her. And as I say, these are direct quotes. I could leave my skin behind easily. It would be like saying farewell to a friend whose time is up. My skin no longer matters. I don't even care about having flesh and blood. I just want to leave my body. And I think I could easily. It's time. It's time. I knew it was time. Because I've had that sinking feeling lately. That sense of infinite regression being pulled back into the body so deeply that I end up outside of it. I end up encompassing my whole environmental surround, filling up the space around me to the maximum extent. If I sit in silence long enough, it is an occurrence of remembering being other. What is it to become other? To fill the dimensions of an object completely and reverse the process, to transport consciousness into the environmental surround, to become other, and then be transported back into my body in an instant, making it one momentary experience, The most immediate impulse is to move downward and to liquefy and spill out onto the ground, becoming absorbed. The first impulse is to start splintering off and expanding. I could expand myself outward enough to reach the sun. That hypnotic light, it draws forth every will to exist and evolve. It is will, and it is pure actualization, something to be processed through and transported from one state of being to another. At the center of the sun, you will find a shadow version of yourself. From this point in the center emanates all life. Light sheds on the perceivable world, making it so in darkness there is eternal void. Square root of X, right? And that line right there is the only line I added. In light, a drama plays out. First, of a blurry mass of color that over time self-organizes into further complex forms. On and on and on and on until the visions come. Anyways, going to climb Squaw Peak today. It's in central Phoenix. The second highest peak after Camelback Mountain. Need to get some perspective. Why Squaw Peak? Why did they name it after a word for an Indian woman? Is the mountain supposed to be like a breast with the nipple on top? You know what that reminds me of? This Cretan mountain goddess. She's actually emerging out of a mountain with 7 tiers. Now recall that in the at the beginning of the first chapter, which is based on Inanna's descent into hell, there's a picture of Inanna with a skirt like this that has 7 tiers representing the 7 gates. And here we find it again in Minoan Crete, the exact same idea. Here she is again as the goddess Rhea, standing on top of a mountain. She's also a lion goddess. If you piss her off, she'll send them after you. And the lion goddess is a major archetype. Cybele is associated with it, but it began with Inanna. She had the lion first. Anyways, finally reached the summit. Wow, you can see the skyscrapers in central Phoenix from up here. This reminds me of something. Yeah, that dude. He's getting some perspective too. Caspar David Friedrichs painting the man in a mist or fog. But you know what? I want to go even higher than this so I can get a bird's eye view of the entire city. I want to separate my astral body from my skin and my blood and my bones. What if I astral project myself outside my physical body like shamans do, and then take a tour floating around the city in my astral body? It should be pretty easy because I do it every night in my dreams anyway. Okay, just going to lie down here and close my eyes. Those people over there will think I'm just taking a nap. Okay, here goes. It seems like this needs some fixing here. Oh, where is that? And then I need my... I'm still doing some of the editing work here. That just seems like it needs to go up higher. Yeah, there we go. Okay, fix that little glitch. Pop, I'm out, floating. Wow, levity is back. I'm Levity Girl again. Let's see, where should I go? How about North Phoenix? This, on the other hand, needs to go the other way. Okay, one more, that should do it. Shaw Butte Mountain. There's a radio over there. Slow because this is going through OBS. It slows everything down. There's a radio tower over there. And some dudes are paragliding. Keep in mind she's outside of her body at this point. She's floating around in her astral body. This drives me crazy trying to keep track of the spaces. They'd totally freak out if they could see me. The McDowell Mountains, they look cool from up here. That middle one looks even more like a nipple than Squaw Peak. More like a clitoris. They should have called it Clit Mountain. They have a small mountain, Tempe Butte, and if you float around it, you find the letter A for Arizona, or Alpha, or Adam, or did you know that the letter A is actually an upside down bull's head? Check it out. It was an Egyptian hieroglyph that the Hebrews turned upside down. Okay, now what about south? going way higher for this one. And this, I don't know how these got all out of alignment. I have to go back through it. You're watching Editing Live. Central Phoenix and South Mountain. Turn back north to the Papago Twins. Oh shit, a formation of Black Hawk helicopters headed for their landing spot at the National Guard base that's just in front of the mountain on the right. That's McDowell Road snaking between them. You can see the Four Peaks mountain range in the blue distance. Gonna hop over the Papagos to Camelback Mountain. And that brings me back to Central Phoenix. It really does look like a camel lying down. Better get back to my body in case something happens to it, like somebody doing CPR on me just for an excuse to kiss Sleeping Beauty back to life. All right, so that's part 2. Part 3 is called Seven Rivers, and it does something similar, except she doesn't astral travel. This is the only chapter that she astral travels in, because she will, in the third book, it will take place entirely in the astral planes, the astral rings around the earth, which will correspond then to Dante's Paradiso with his rings, his concentric spheres that he journeys through in the Paradiso. Okay, so that's a preview of coming attractions. The book will be in hardcover, like the first one, in full color, and available for purchase on Amazon. Okay.